I made a video a while back about how we've been using cards to track inventory items in my D&D games. We were using cards a bit before that video, but it's at that point that I really doubled down as I kicked off multiple campaigns at home, and then more recently started using those cards with my after-school D&D program. That all started over 2 years ago, and today I wanted to talk about what I've learned during that time, what's been working well, and what I wish was different. And at the end of the video, I'm going to show you an upcoming tool I've been trying out that addresses a number of the issues I've been running into. This is sure to give you advantage on your Save versus Justin. If you saw my previous video on coming up with ways to make inventory more fun in D&D, or at least less of a burden, then you know it was influenced by systems like Shadowdark that limit the number of items your character can access based on the slots that you track on your character sheet. In that earlier video, I talked about how I use item cards in a similar way, along with pages of plastic sleeves to represent which items are easily within reach and which are stored in your backpack. For the most part, that's all been working great. It's easy to track your stuff and a good visual reminder of what tools your character has to help them solve problems or challenges. I use cards for treasure and magic items as well, and those continue to be exciting. Handing a physical item over to the player adds an extra level of weight or connection with that item, and it's a constant reminder that might inspire us both to bring it more into the game. Another game I've been checking out called Mausritter handles inventory in a more physical way, using a grid on your character sheet that you fill in with these little chits that represent the items you're carrying. We haven't played it yet at our table, but I would definitely like to try out a couple of one-shots. I think there's a lot of great concepts that I'd like to experience and then borrow for other games. I've also been sitting on a copy of a board game called Mice and Mystics that I think would mix well with Mausritter and provide cool minis and battle maps. I mentioned Shadowdark, and while it doesn't come with any cards, I was able to find some on DriveThruRPG for magic items and monsters. I also backed the recent Shadowdark Kickstarter, which adds cards to track spells that I'm super excited about. In fact, I'd say cards seem to be trending in RPGs right now. Not everywhere, of course, but certainly in D&D, where the new starter set comes with all kinds of cards to track not only inventory, but also spells, backgrounds, species, monsters, and magic items as well. Right now, those cards are kind of focused on just the 4 character classes and the adventure that comes with that set. But I did just recently see that Wizards of the Coast will re-release a new series of reference cards for D&D 5.5 that should hopefully expand on these. If you follow D&D, or Critical Role, then you most likely heard of Daggerheart from Darrington Press. While I haven't seen cards yet for inventory or treasure, they do provide cards to help you keep track of abilities related to your character's class or background. Dragonbane is another game I've heard great things about. Their box set also includes cards, not only to track treasure the characters might find, but also this cool idea of what improvised weapons might be available during an encounter that could give your character an edge, or at least look cool while pulling off some kind of cinematic action. I know there's more games out there that use cards, but those are the main ones that have been on my mind and inspiring me. You know, I boldly state that cards are a trend, and I hope I'm right, but after a few years of using them consistently in my games, there's some things I've noticed that fall a bit short for me. For example, the resource management of cards hasn't played as big a role as I thought it would. After being inspired by Shadowdark with limited inventory slots, I was excited to gamify that into a page of cards like this. But making the tough choice of what to carry and what to leave behind hasn't been a big factor in many of my games so far. I think a huge part of that is that for most of my games, I'm not playing Shadowdark. I'm still running D&D. My homebrew version, but the focus is more on heroic quests than, say, treasure hunting or dungeon delving. I am running one Shadowdark campaign, sticking pretty close to the rules and intent of the game. And in that campaign, resources and slots absolutely matter. But in my D&D games, it's a bit hit or miss. I think this is on me to focus in on it if I want it to matter more. I did toy with the idea of blocking some of these inventory slots, depending on what your strength stat was, or maybe what injuries you've taken, but I haven't been able to justify the extra crunch that it would add. And for my kids' games at least, I'm not sure that it would make it more fun for them. This is something I'll continue to work on. Now, you've heard that I'm running multiple campaigns at the same time. What I found is that I'm often running out of certain common cards for items that multiple characters might want to equip. Torches are notorious, or lanterns. Leather armor and shields are always in short supply, along with your classic weapons like long swords or short bows, quivers and arrows. I'm always running out of these cards. Even if I wasn't running multiple campaigns, many of the item card decks that I've found only come with one copy of each item, so collecting multiple decks can be expensive. I have found PDFs that let me print out my own cards, which works okay, but they don't look or feel as good, and they take a good chunk of time to create. On my previous video, I talked about having players create cards on the fly for items that they find, and for the most part, that works great and can be a lot of fun, but sometimes it's hard when a player might get multiple cards at once. Breaking out a loot drop into multiple cards can take a lot of time, and things can get lost. Another thing, a lot of the cards I've collected don't have the weapon or armor stats printed on the cards. That's usually not that big of a deal since most of that stuff is right on the front of your character sheet, but I guess after playing with the D&D starter set and teaching D&D based on that set, I'm a fan of having more stats and information on the cards. Also, when players want to spend their hard-earned gold on new gear, cards can actually slow things down quite a bit. For common items, unless there's a good reason, we typically don't roleplay out shopping trips. Instead, I created a shopping cheat sheet that I hand out to players to speed things up. But after they create a list of things to buy, then I have to go pull those cards from my decks or binders, which can take a while. You may have seen another video of mine where I set up storefronts and deal out the cards for items that are currently for sale. That's still fun, and we do that sometimes, but the items I deal out there are more for the rare or unique items the shop has. For magic items, I often don't want to give out the official magic item card with its powers listed on it right away, because I want there to be some mystery to the item for a while as the players test them out, especially for potions. Usually I'll solve that by adding sticky notes to the cards as powers or abilities are discovered, but that can get kind of messy. For me, none of these issues outweighs the fun that using cards for inventory brings to the game, but it's always in the back of my mind to look for ways to make it better. So I was excited when earlier this year I saw an ad for a product called the PackMule Ultimate Inventory System. After checking out their site, I was like, that's the thing that I wish existed back when I was putting in all that time collecting all of my inventory cards. It uses a lot of the same concepts that I'd been using as well, like a page of equipped item cards and another for what's in your backpack. As a kindred spirit, I reached out to them to connect and share the video I made because, hey, that's at least one more view and maybe a like. Speaking of which, they did watch that video and they replied back. And they offered to send me an advance copy to check out ahead of their Kickstarter campaign they have scheduled. So while they aren't sponsoring this video, they did send me a free copy of their inventory system that I'll show you. And I want to, because if you're interested in trying out a card-based inventory system, this is the best way I've seen to do it. And they have some innovative additions that I hadn't thought of. Here's what they have to offer. First of all, it's beautiful. The artwork on the cards and binders is excellent. There's a level of care and quality in the product that you can tell came out of the passion for the game and wanting to add something cool to it. If you go all in on this system, there are a ton of cards that come with it, which is great. To help you more quickly find or access those cards, they provide this binder of holding, which looks great, but it's also laid out well, with tabs for all the different categories of cards, as well as tabs to help you spotlight what might be available in a specialty shop, or what loot might be found during a specific encounter. The binder pages are the same 9-up grid of card pockets that I've been using, but these are double-sided, which I hadn't seen before, which makes storing cards much more efficient. They also have binders for several character classes to help players keep track of gear and treasure. Some of these binder sleeves also let you include a letter-sized page. Useful, of course, for your character sheet, but also the background image they include for your equipped items if you want to get more granular on the types of item slots available. And as I mentioned earlier, a separate page for what's in your backpack. They're producing decks of cards that cover every item, weapon, piece of armor, consumables, and magic items in D&D 5.5, plus a ton of their own. Pretty much anything your characters might want to carry, there's a card for, including currency if you want to take it that far. And they provide duplicate cards for many of the common items that will likely be used across multiple characters. Everybody gets a torch, and that extends to their common and uncommon magic item cards as well. Even so, you may find that you need even more duplicates for some items, like if you wanted to use these cards for Shadowdark and you needed even more torches. But at least for the Kickstarter, prices listed for the decks are pretty cheap. And they're also going to launch a card builder app that lets you put together a custom deck, including the ability to design your own new unique cards and have them printed. Of course, for their magic item cards, they provide a full description of that item's abilities or powers. But like the new D&D starter set, they also include stats and abilities on their common equipment cards as well. This includes the weapon mastery properties from the 5.5 rules for handy reference. We haven't adopted the weapon mastery properties in our games yet, but if we did, I would definitely want the abilities listed on these item cards. Oh, and if you want to hide magic item powers from your players, but still give them a card to investigate, this system provides sleeves of obscuring. You can see that the sleeves have a little window to show an image of the item, often with a clue about its true nature, but then it covers all the other details front and back. Personally, I thought that was super innovative. And as a Magic the Gathering player, where you use sleeves all the time, it was one of those things where I thought, of course this should exist. Another example of a simple idea that could change how you play is their addition of a series of crafting component cards. Crafting has been in a number of games, of course, including D&D, but having this deck of cards can really inspire and open up that mini-game. They can be quest hooks, or maybe provide valuable treasure for defeating monsters that might not logically have a pile of gold pieces with them. There are even cards for rare cooking ingredients that remind me of the Zelda Breath of the Wild video game. Trinkets can be another one of those things in D&D to give out as a minor but fun reward for exploration. The Pac-Mule system provides a whole deck of trinket cards. I've decided to leave the trinket deck out of the binder and keep it randomized in a separate deck to hand out on the fly. We actually used that in one of our games this week, and my son had some great feedback. He thought it was fun, but he pointed out how much more fun it would be if we mixed in a few minor magic items to give you a chance of finding something extra cool. I think we'll definitely be doing that. That's the PackMule Ultimate Inventory System. I'm a fan. It seems like a one-stop shop to add card inventory to your game. I wish it existed a few years ago when I was putting mine together. It would have saved me a ton of time. Their Kickstarter starts on April 21st. There's a link below to be notified when it launches, along with a link to their website if you want to learn more. What do you do to track inventory in your games? Have you tried any of the systems I mentioned? What's been working well? What could be better? Please leave a comment below, and I look forward to continuing the conversation.